Hello friend, are you a Palworld beginner looking for some beginner tips and tricks? Well, you've come to the right place. I'm here to give you some basic advice to help you out in the very early game in Palworld. These tips aren't game breaking or anything, but they really do help you with a nice smooth playthrough while you're just starting out, especially when you want an authentic first experience. I'm Zuzucorn and I aim to entertain, encourage, and offer you a place to call home, so subscribe now and join the Zuzucorn family. Let's begin. Tip number 1. Don't fiddle too much with the world creation settings for your very first playthrough. When you're just starting out, I know it can be pretty tempting to adjust some settings, like the EXP multipliers and whatnot, but if it's your very first time playing the game, or maybe even your second or third time, I'd recommend just going with the default settings. This gives you the most authentic experience, which is pretty well calibrated, I would say, and it probably is the closest to what the developers had intended the game to be like. The main reason why I say you should first play the game as it is so you can experience the challenges that were designed into the game, so this prevents you from picking up a whole bunch of bad habits that may not actually make you a better player. For example, if you do boost your EXP gain for your first playthrough, progression might seem a little too easy, and you might be quickly overwhelmed for your actual experience level. It can be quite intimidating when you accumulate a whole bunch of technology points, unlock a whole plethora of items, but then have no idea what they're for or how best to utilize them. In such a case, you'd be playing catch up most of the time, which can get pretty annoying. Maybe you unlock guns pretty quickly, but then you realize that you have no ore or ingots to make them. Then you'll struggle to gather resources for a furnace, and then struggle to accumulate ingots, and so on. It can get pretty frustrating when you always feel like you don't have enough resources and that you always have to devote time and energy to get more just to craft something fun. But if you had played the game as it was designed, you'd gradually get introduced to all the infrastructure available and have time to set up renewable resources. Then you'll also have a better idea of what all the different items do, since you have the opportunity to try them out at the appropriate progression point. Most importantly, it won't ruin that sense of wonder you get for your very first playthrough. So yes, default settings are the way to go, at least for your very first journey. That brings me to my next point. Tip number 2. Use the guide at the top right corner of the screen. Now, I will admit that you shouldn't think that the guide is the be-all end-all, and you should definitely explore and do whatever you want. But if you're absolutely clueless the first time you play, then the game guide here is actually pretty nifty in the sense that it introduces you to some core mechanics. It also gives you a gentle nudge in the right direction. So in a similar vein, also pay attention to the Palbox upgrades. It can be tempting to just build whatever you need to improve your base without caring what these things do, but I'd recommend you to take some time to read up and see how they actually work. Most of the things required for upgrading your base are essential systems that you need for a smooth early game, be it for managing your pal's welfare, producing food, or making a way to generate resources and obtain stronger weapons. Now, just to be clear, I'm not saying that you need to be stuck with what the game tells you to build though. Part of the fun is trying out a whole bunch of things. But since the game does give you some guidance, I think it's worth using that and learning just a little bit about how the game works. Once you've gotten more experience, you know exactly what to do to optimize your future playthroughs. Tip number 3. Resource management and organization. In the very early game, you come across a whole bunch of materials, from food to resources like stone or wood to pal drops like meat, leather, horns, and so on. It might be tempting to just dump everything into a chest anyhow and forget about it, but it will probably bite you back later on. The thing about Palworld is that a lot of items have a random niche purpose, so not everything is objectively useful, but I do think that some form of organization is worth it. In that regard, I'd recommend making a whole bunch of wooden chests strategically placed for convenience. For example, you can make a wooden chest next to your campfires or cooking pots to store food. Maybe a chest next to your workbench to store some common resources like wool and cloth. A chest near your farms to store your seeds, and so on. I also like having an egg chest near an incubator, so you can just dump all your pal eggs in a place that you won't forget. One great life hack I found is to build chests right next to your resource generators. Usually, your pals can generate hundreds of, say, wood while lumbering, and once you collect the wood, you'll definitely be over encumbered, and it will be a nightmare to move things around. Instead, why not just craft the chest right next to it so you can collect your wood and dump it all into the chest right away. This also helps your pals reach a storage box easily to dump resources in. Not to mention, once you've actually gotten your organization in place, unloading from an exploration session gets so easy. All you need to do is open up your chests, then click the quick stack button. Every type of item in your inventory that's already in the open chest will be automatically put into it. You don't even need to think about where to put things. Just go around opening chests, then spamming quick stack. You also always know where you put what, which makes things so much easier to look for. I know that organization sounds like a pain when you just want to explore, but for efficiency and less trouble later on, I think it's worth it to just spend some time setting it up. Tip number 4. Set up your core infrastructure before you go on long journeys. Now, I get it. You're itching to explore and go to faraway lands. But before you do, why not just set things up so that your base can run on its own while you're gone? If you just go on a week-long journey while your base stays idle, you'd be missing out on a week's worth of resource generation that could have been gathered. In particular, before you leave for your very first long exploration, I'd recommend setting up your logging site and quarry at least. You can assign pals with the lumbering and mining skills respectively to hack away at these to generate wood and stone. In the very beginning, something simple like lift monks or rush ores are good to get you free resources. You'll need lots of wood and stone, so at least set this up before you leave. Eventually, you can just throw in some deers or tombats, which are obtained pretty early on as well. Farms are also a great thing to set up so that you can generate food in a sustainable way. Anyway, the point is, don't just leave your base idling while you explore. Make sure that your pals are always slaving away at generating resources for you. It's always great to come back after a long journey, excited to build new things, and then finding out that you have 1,000 wood waiting for you. It feels amazing, and you never have to wait around for resources like that ever again. Tip number 5. Use your pals. I know this seems really obvious, but just hear me out. The pal menu and UI can be pretty overwhelming when you're just starting out, but it's quite good to just give the profile of each pal one good look at least. In particular, look at the skills of the pal, which tells you what it can help you with at your base. If you're not too sure about what specialized jobs you want them to help you with yet, just throw down a bunch of pals with skills in multiple areas. That said, there are a few great pals that are especially helpful early on. If you find yourself struggling with carrying capacity, load your team with a bunch of Cativas. They increase your weight capacity by 50 each. Rush ores are really good for mining things as well, especially once you get the saddle for them. Their skill, Reckless Charge, does a whole buttload of damage against rocks, and if you steer them into a bunch of rocks in a straight line, it can make quick work of them in no time. Fox Sparks are great as a lantern at night, so just throw them out and you can do other things and can still see. Vixies in particular are also very useful here. They can be placed in a ranch to generate pal spheres and arrows, which is actually really helpful when you're building a whole bunch of things early on and can't really afford to dump all your stone and palladium into making more. It's a nice passive farm that you can head over once in a while, and most importantly, before you head out for a long journey. Healing is also rather annoying in the very early game, so just grab a Tiefant and use its partner skill to heal you once in a while when you get beat up. It doesn't heal all that much, but it's nice to have access to an outright heal at this point of the game, rather than waiting around until your health regenerates. There are a lot more useful pals, but these are the ones I can think of right off the bat for the very beginning. I also don't want to spoil too much of the game for you. That also brings me to my next tip. Tip number 6. Catch everything. Catch multiples of everything. One of the joys of Palworld is to catch 'em all. See a cute penguin? Catch it. See a depressed teddy bear? Catch it. See a nice round cow? catch it. Not only does catching pals give you a lot of EXP, but it also gives you a whole repertoire of different workers for your base. It's great to have a variety of different pals in tow, and not only does this give you knowledge on which pals are great for what, it also ensures that you always have someone who can do the thing that you're looking to do. Be it making medicine when you first unlock it, watering your crops, cooking some food, building, or whatever, you'll almost always be prepared to some extent. In fact, you can catch multiples of everything. If you didn't know, the game rewards you with bonus EXP for catching the same pal up till you catch your 12th one. So you might think it's useless catching 12 lamb balls, but actually they're easy to catch and give you good EXP, so you might as well just do that and use up the bonus EXP allowance. Of course, I'm not saying that you have to catch 12 of something before you move on. I'm just saying that you don't have to worry that catching repeats are useless and that you shouldn't do that. In fact, having copies of the same pals ensures that you can simply replace the sick, sad workers with new healthy ones. Capitalism at its finest. Tip number 7. Learn your elemental matchups. If you're familiar with Pokemon, then you'd have an instinctive feel for the elemental matchups in this game. Or I guess if you have some common sense, you'd be able to deduce that water beats fire, and fire beats grass, and so on. But even if you have no knowledge about things like this, you can actually just see all the type matchups in the menu. Just head over to the menu, go to the survival guide, and under the tab labeled elements, you can see this nice flowchart. I'd say it's quite important to learn these, so you know what pals to use against what enemies. Not only does this allow you to effectively dispose of a tougher enemy, it also lets you use weak attacks against a weak pal, so you don't just one-shot them right away. That's more likely to give you a chance to whittle down their health and catch them. Tip number 8. Explore. Explore everywhere. While you explore the world and come across different pals, be on the lookout for Lifmonk effigies, which are these green statue thingies. Collecting a whole bunch of them will allow you to upgrade your capture power at one of these statues. This is really useful as you progress through the game, since later pals get much more difficult to catch. Be on the lookout for pal eggs as well, which are usually hidden in some pretty obscure places. In that vein, explore whatever makes your Zelda senses tingle. You might see this nice sharp rock that extends into the sky, and then wonder if there's anything up there. Well, the answer is almost always yes. If your senses are tingling, chances are the devs did put something there. I've always found these sharp rocks to either have a nice egg at the top, or a Lifmonk effigy, so even though it takes some time to climb one, it's usually somewhat worth it. See a suspiciously high tower somewhere? There's probably a chest or effigy at the top. Is that predictable? Yeah, maybe. But is it fun and rewarding nonetheless? Heck yeah! Well, that's about it for this video. I've got a bunch of other tips for you too, but I don't really want to overload the real beginners here. That's why I've curated the tips and only mentioned the ones I think are most impactful, especially for the new beginners who are just dipping their toes into the game. Are there any other great beginner tips that you think I've missed out? Well, if there is, let me know down in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon too, for more videos and other stuff. This has been Zuzucorn. Have a nice day, and have a great week ahead. Bye bye.